Thanks for being here. Subscribe to Cheating Stories Best, so you don't miss new stories.
Memories of that first meeting flooded his heart. It was lunchtime, and the cafe was full. He was sitting alone at a table when he saw the hostess return and ask if he minded sharing the table with a stranger. Sean agreed, and when she returned with his date, he was glad he said yes. The girl was the epitome of beauty, tall, slender but with curves in all the right places, and long sandy-colored hair. She did not walk towards the table but seemed to glide, as if it was effortless for her. She had a mesmerizing smile and the bluest eyes he had ever seen. Sean immediately felt nervous. This magnificent creature was clearly not for him. After all, he was just a private renovation contractor, his own boss, doing carpentry and minor repairs for households and businesses. He was very successful at his work, but it meant he wore jeans and long-sleeve shirts to work. He was definitely dressed too casually for this table. The hostess introduced her as Erin, and she sat down. They immediately started making small talk, beginning with Sean apologizing for his clothes and talking about his job. Erin quickly brushed off his apology, saying that it did not matter to her and that she was just grateful he agreed to share the table. As the meal went on, they shared more about themselves. By the end of the meal, they had exchanged phone numbers and agreed to meet again on the weekend. Their relationship progressed, and Sean eventually asked Erin to marry him, although deep down, he always thought that someday she would realize he was not good enough for her. Erin agreed, and after a year of dating and 6 months of engagement, they got married. The wedding took place in the spring and was a big affair. Sean would have preferred a smaller wedding, but he also knew that on her wedding day, Erin was the most beautiful bride he had ever seen. Her smile that day was proof to Sean that the big wedding was the right choice. As their relationship grew into marriage, so did their careers. Erin managed to get a job as an accountant right out of college, the same job she still held, in the same office right across from the cafe where they met. It was not unusual for Sean to come over for lunch during the week. They always tried to sit at the same table, but due to lunch crowds, it was not always possible. Still, they appreciated every minute spent together in the cafe, and this place would always be special to them. Sean's renovation business also flourished. He developed a reputation for excellent work, often coming in at or below his estimate and always completing jobs on time. Soon, free publicity through word of mouth meant that as soon as he finished one project, another was waiting. His schedule was booked 6 months in advance. There were others who did similar work, but not as well, and so people did not mind waiting for his services. Early in their relationship, Sean and Erin decided not to rush into parenthood. Both wanted children but thought it was better to wait until they were established in their careers. Since everything was going so well, Sean began to think that the idea of becoming a father was becoming more real. However, he always deferred to his beautiful wife. When she was ready, he would be ready too. In fact, this willingness perfectly described his relationship with her. Sean adored Erin. He loved the way she took charge of their finances, making decisions about what car to buy, where to go, or where to go for dinner. The main thing was that she was happy, and Sean was happy too. By this time, it was already 6:30. She was 30 minutes late. He pulled his phone out of his pocket and tried making calls again, both to his cell phone and his office phone. The cell phone immediately went to voicemail, as it had all day, and the office phone answered with an answering machine. He knew that the door to the office building across from the cafe closed at 5:30, so there was no point in trying to get in. By 6:45, his emotions began to get the better of him. He felt worried that something had happened to her, and he felt helpless not knowing what to do or how to contact her. Maybe she had not received any of his messages or calls at all. But they had agreed to meet yesterday, so it was impossible for her to forget something as important as the anniversary of their first meeting. Finally, he stood up and walked over to the hostess stand. He asked the girl if anyone had called to cancel the appointment or if maybe someone had come early and then left. The hostess did not have any messages but asked what Erin looked like. Sean took out his phone again to show her a photo, and when he showed it to the girl, she turned pale. Sean immediately noticed her reaction and persistently asked her to tell him what she knew. At first, she did not want to say anything, but the longer he insisted, the more she realized that he had to find out the truth. She looked at Sean and said, "I recognize her." She was here this afternoon around 3 o'clock. She came alone, but soon a man came in and sat at the table with her. They talked for about 30 minutes, and as he was leaving, he walked over to her side of the table and kissed her. After he left, she stayed for about 15 minutes and then left alone. Sean felt his heart sink. He looked at the hostess again and asked, "Are you sure it was this woman?" The hostess replied, "Yes, I am sure. Women of such beauty are not forgotten." Sean returned to the table to pick up his jacket and then headed toward the door. The hostess stopped him and said, "I am sorry. I have to tell you this, but I felt you needed to know." She handed him a piece of paper and added, "This is my phone number. If you need someone to talk to, call me." Sean thanked her and left. He walked to his car and decided to drive through the office building parking lot one more time. Her car was still parked there, which only made him even more confused. Did she really leave with someone? Maybe with that man from the cafe? Or was he still there with her? The thought of them having an affair washed over him, and he felt nauseous. He drove home, arriving at about 7:30. Not knowing what to do, he went to the refrigerator and took out a beer. Then he returned to the living room and sat down, no lights, no television, just sitting there, his mind racing with two questions. What happened that he did not notice, and what would he do next? Gradually, the room became completely dark, but Sean did not pay attention to it. Strangely, it was a little easier for him to think in the dark. Unfortunately, even in a dark room, his thoughts did not bring answers. There was no obvious solution. As time passed and the hours approached night, he became increasingly restless, fearing the worst. Finally, a little after 10 o'clock, he heard her car pull up to the house, the car door closing, and then the keys in the lock on the front door. When she opened the door, he could barely make out her silhouette against the street lamp outside the window. She closed the door, reached for the light switch, and the room was filled with light that was now unbearable for Sean. Erin turned to the center of the room, and seeing him, winced. She looked at him and said softly, "Sorry it is so late. Today was not a good day at the office. I needed to stay and finish some things. How was your day?" This is it, Sean thought. It is time to start figuring it out. "Well, it was an interesting day," he said. "The morning was pretty good, but from lunch until the evening, it was probably the worst damn day of my life." Surprised, Erin looked at Sean. He never expressed himself like that unless it was during a difficult night. She looked at him with concern. "Sean, that is harsh language. I am not used to hearing that from you. What has happened?" Sean was ready to begin. "Sit down and make yourself comfortable, Erin. This may drag on for the evening. 3 things happened today that have never happened to me before. It was as if everything had been planned to fall on me at once, crushing my soul and leaving me broken and embittered." Erin sat down on the couch opposite Sean. She looked at him and started to say something, but he interrupted her first. "Since 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I have been desperately trying to contact my wife. I sent you messages. I called your cell phone. I even called the office. All I got was a secretary who somehow could not get a message to you. Unless you received it and ignored it, which, given all the facts, is a very possible explanation. Erin, I would never ignore your messages. I do not know why the secretary did not give them to me. I will make sure this does not happen again. As for my phone, I turned it off this afternoon because I was working on a difficult task and did not want to be interrupted. Apparently, I forgot to turn it back on. I am sorry, dear." Sean did not believe her. What if something happened to me? How would they contact you? I do not remember a time when you did not receive my messages, even if it was just a short love you or thinking about you. Heck, I would even accept a simple emoji just to know you were receiving my messages. Erin, she said, I am sorry. It was the first time. As you said, can I get some slack? I promise this will not happen again. Please, do not be mad at me for this. Oh, do not worry, Sean said. There are many more reasons to be angry with you than just this one. Second, he continued, a woman I had never met before gave me her phone number and told me I could call her if I needed anything. You know what? I took this number because maybe I really need something. He took out a piece of paper with the hostess's number to show that he was serious. Her face changed again, from a sad expression to shock. What are you talking about? Why did you not tell her that you were married and did not need her number? You never behaved like this, darling. Is this all because you could not reach me by phone today? Sean stood up. He could no longer sit still. Walking around the room, he said, "Well, as I said, a lot of things happened today that have never happened before. Should I continue? Maybe you will give me this phone number first. You do not need anyone else's number. I love you. How can I make things right for you?" Sean tried to control his anger. If he thought about it, this was certainly the most furious moment of his life. He put the piece of paper back in his pocket and said, "No, I will keep it for now. We will see if we need it in a few minutes." "Aaron, why are you doing this to me?" she asked. He did not answer her question. Instead, he continued to explain his reasons. "Third, the reason I was so desperate to contact you was to tell you how much I was looking forward to our meeting tonight. Remember, the cafe at 6 o'clock, our 8th anniversary of our first meeting. I even sat at our table and waited." The shock of these words overwhelmed Erin. Pressing her hand to her lips, she began to cry. "Oh dear, that is why you are so upset. I cannot believe I forgot about this. I feel so stupid." Erin stood up to approach him, but he stopped her. "Sit down. We still have a long evening ahead. A conversation lies ahead of us, Sean. Please," she exclaimed, "let me fix this somehow. I need you around, Sean. I do not want you to be so mad at me. Please, dear, do you want to know what you can do for me? Here, I will give you a chance. I need to know everything that happened to you from the 2 o'clock hour when I started trying to contact you until the moment you returned home. I want the truth, Aaron. Do not hide anything. This is important because the chance to save our marriage depends on your answer." "Sean, what on earth is this? You say that our marriage is on the rocks because I accidentally missed our anniversary?" Then she fell silent. Her expression instantly changed from anger to fear. At that moment, she realized that he must have found out about her meeting with Roger in the cafe that afternoon. He must have known that Roger kissed her. She did not know how he found out about it, but now everything became clear to her. He walked up to her, grabbed her by the shoulders, and holding her tightly, said, "Aaron, I am serious. Please answer carefully. I only want the truth. At least you owe me this." She fell onto the sofa, grabbed a pillow, and pressed it tightly to her chest. Quietly, she said, "You are right, Sean. You deserve the truth. I will start with the worst part, but if you stay and let me explain, then if you want to leave, I will not be happy. But at least I will know that you heard everything I needed to say. Will you stay, at least until I tell you everything?" Sean sat down on the other end of the couch. "I promise I will listen to you. Actually, I need to listen to you. This is probably the most important conversation of our lives, so I am not going anywhere." She lowered her head, trying to find the words she needed to say. She was not ready for this conversation, but she knew she had no choice. She decided it was probably best to just put the worst out there. "Sean, I want to start by saying that I love you and I desperately want to spend the rest of my life with you. You are my soul. You are everything I have ever wanted in a man, and I am more confident in that now than ever. But I know that I hurt you, and for that, I am very sorry. I know that mere words cannot erase the pain I caused you, but I promise that I will spend the rest of my life trying to make it right. Another man kissed me today in a cafe, but I stopped him and that was the end of it. Please believe me, Sean, I did not cheat on you, and I did not intend to. Do you believe me?" He sighed. "I want to believe you, but you are right, the pain is too strong. You only partially answered my question. What else happened today?" She looked up at him, and he saw tears rolling down her cheeks, falling onto her blouse and covering her breasts. "Let me say more, Sean. Let me go back to the very beginning. You deserve to know everything, and as much as it pains me to say it, you should know everything. What do you mean it hurts you? Am I not the one who ended up here?" She shook her head and said, "Yes, but my pain is how much pain I cause you. And believe me, Darling, the last thing I want to do is hurt you. Her voice trembled as she continued. His name is Roger. He started working at the accounting firm a couple of months ago. At first, I did not think anything special about him. He was just a new guy. He had a job like the rest of us. But after a couple of weeks, I noticed that he started flirting with me. It was very low-key at first, little things like synchronizing his appearance at the water cooler with mine, or him holding the door open as we entered and exited the building. Later, this became more obvious. I began to catch him staring at my legs or standing next to me trying to look into my blouse to see my breasts. I know I should have reprimanded him right away, but it went to my head a little. It was nice to know that I could have such an influence on him with just my appearance. Sean interrupted her. You do not understand that what he did was sexual harassment. He should have been fired for this. I know. Looking back, it was wrong. But at the time, to be honest, I was not sure it was harassment because it implied that I was resisting his advances. The truth is that it was voluntary. I provoked it myself. One day, at a meeting, when I noticed that he was looking at my legs, I straightened them and then crossed them again to see how he would react. If I knew he was coming into my office, I would unbutton the top button. I would unbutton the top button of my blouse, hoping to hear his breathing change when I knew he was looking inside. Sean bit his lip and turned away. Erin noticed this and panicked a little. Stay with me, please, Sean. Please, she pleaded. Without looking at her, he said, continue. I am listening. It is just something I never thought I would hear from you. I know, dear, and I never thought I would have to say this. I am really sorry. She grabbed a napkin to wipe away the tears that kept flowing. After taking a deep breath, she continued. I really thought it was just a game, two adults playing a game that should not be played, and no one would get hurt. I do not think there was any particular attraction between us, at least not then. I thought that I could handle it and that everything would remain at the level of what we were already doing. But over time, the game became more and more serious. It all started with casual glances, but soon turned into more outspoken remarks. He would see me bending over the file cabinet and say something like, I hope you will look for that file all day so I can keep looking at your legs. Or he would come up from behind and start massaging my shoulders, which was nice and relaxing but also felt like something more. After he left my office that time, the guilt of what I did pierced my heart. I looked at your photo on my desk and started crying. I could not believe I let myself get this far. I had no reason for this. I love you with all my soul, and the last thing I wanted was to do something that could jeopardize our relationship. When I look back, I realized that at that moment, I should have told you everything and not continued to drag it out further as I did. If I had told you then, we could have done something to stop this. I immediately sent Roger a letter saying that we had gone too far and we needed to stop this right now. Less than 5 minutes later, he returned to my office. At first, he apologized and said that he understood. But then he stood up, looked me in the eyes, and said that he was no longer playing because his feelings for me were not just a game. He said that he was falling in love with me and would do anything to make me fall in love with him too. I told him to leave immediately, and he left. But soon, he started sending me several letters a day, telling me what he loved about me and what he would like to do with me. I knew he could get fired for writing such letters, but I was afraid that if I spoke about them, he would simply tell his boss that I was also involved in these activities, and I would lose my job. And he was right. I flirted with him even though I knew it was wrong on many levels. This week, his pressure on me increased. He began to describe what our life would look like if we were together. He also started taunting you, saying that you are not the man I need and that he is the one who can take care of me in every way. Sean, I did not respond to any of these emails. I usually deleted them as soon as I read them. Looking back now, I wish I had never opened them in the first place. She paused and then looked at him again, continuing her story. This will be the hardest part for me to tell you, Sean. Please stay with me and let me finish. As disgusted as I was by his attempts to win me over, I was still pleased that I was attractive enough for someone to try to get me to go to him. The conflict I began to feel in my heart suddenly brought back memories of my college life. I know you never wanted to know about my past experiences before we met and fell in love, and I am grateful for that because I am not sure you would have been happy with the woman I was back then. I pushed those memories aside when you showed up and charmed me. I never thought about them again until Roger started pressing me. Suddenly, the memories came back, the thrill of the chase. The knowledge that you could do whatever you wanted with anyone, whenever you wanted, suddenly made Roger the embodiment of that time, my time before you. Suddenly, my two lives collided with each other, and Roger became the one leading me down the path from the past. It was eerie how two lives that I had tried to keep separate came back together. It seemed that I had lost complete control of myself. Sean, I am really surprised that you did not notice that something was wrong with me the last few days because I was an emotional wreck inside, and yet I did everything to hide it from you. I knew that at some point, I would have to tell you everything because I clearly could not hide my past from my present anymore. You saved me from a time when I was not the best person. I love you for many reasons, Sean, but the fact that you saved me from a life you never knew is the best thing you have ever done, even if you did not know it. And yet, I could not seem to understand it. Every time I saw Roger, I felt a flush, a pinch of my past coming back. I am not proud of it, but in my past, if a guy like Roger showed me the attention he showed, I would have already given in and let him do whatever he wanted because I would have wanted it too. Finally, this morning, it all came to a head. I could no longer live in this chaos that my life had become over the past few weeks. When I got to work in the morning, I went straight to Roger's office and told him directly that it was over and that he should stay away from me and leave me alone. He, of course, was not happy, but I thought I made it clear that this would not happen again. I returned to my office and got to work. I thought that the best way to process all this was to try to lock it back in the same compartment in my head where my old life was hidden. The best way to do this was to immerse myself in the present. For me, it was my accounting job during the day, and you the rest of the time. Around 3 o'clock, I realized that I had not eaten all day, so I went to the cafe across the street because it was the closest place, and I could quickly get back to work and start again. I told the receptionist where I was going. Apparently, while I was there, you called, and she told you I was not available. I still do not know why she did not give me the message. Well, now that I think about it, maybe I do. At about 3:15, Roger came in. He immediately came up to my table and sat down without waiting for an invitation. Now I understand that he probably came to the office to find me and then asked the receptionist where I had gone. Maybe that is why she did not give me the message. Maybe Roger talked her into it. I do not know. But the more I think about it, the angrier it makes me. Roger sat down, and I told him I did not want to talk to him. I thought I had made that clear enough back in my office. He admitted that he understood what I said but looked me in the eyes and said that he could not just leave without putting everything on the line. I should have gotten up at that moment and left, but for some reason, I could not do it. I do not know what held me back, but I sat and listened to him. When Sean heard this, he turned his head away. It was difficult for him to look at Erin while she recounted the events that had happened just a few hours ago. It was hard to hear about everything that had happened up to this point, but he was able to control his emotions. Now, he was afraid that he would not be able to hold on when she continued. Erin noticed that he turned away, and her tears began to flow even more. Her voice began to tremble as she continued. Sean, do not give up, please. I know it is hard, but you asked me to tell you the truth. So you need to hear everything. I do not want you to have any questions about how much I love you, even more now after putting you through all this. Roger should be working in an ad agency because he started listing his reasons why I should leave you and go with him. He told me about his childhood, how his parents raised him so that when he got his own family, he would be as successful in raising children as they were in raising him. He said that he had many girlfriends before, but none of them met the standard he set for his future wife. He was looking for someone who was smart, beautiful, and successful, someone who could excite him not only physically but also intellectually. He said he had set an almost impossible standard for his future wife, and his loneliness was due to the fact that he had not yet found such a woman. When he started working at my company, the first thing he noticed was my beauty. But he did not rush to decide whether he wanted to court me immediately. He noticed my ring, so he realized that the chance of being with me was practically zero. But as we started to get to know each other a little more, he realized that I could be the one. I am so ashamed of this, Sean, but the flirting that I allowed and even encouraged, the flirting that I thought was harmless at the time, was what made him think there was a spark between us. Sean interrupted her. Were there any sparks between you? I do not know. I did not think there were any. But at the same time, I was pleased because I thought how great it was that this good-looking, handsome man was spending time with me, enjoying my flirting and responding to it. I did not realize that his flirting had a more serious purpose. He wanted to make me fall in love with him. As he continued to make his case, I began to realize even more that he did not just want to have an affair with me, he really wanted to take me away from you and spend the rest of his life with me. I was horrified when I realized how much time and effort he had spent on his strategy. As he was telling me this, for some reason, I started crying. I still do not understand why, but he took it as an opportunity to show some affection. He reached out and took my hands, which were placed on the table, and I did not pull them away. Finally, he took his last step. He said, "Aaron, I am pretty sure I have fallen in love with you, and the thought of continuing to live without you is unacceptable to me. I will ask you one more question, and I do not want you to answer now, but think about it as much as you need. Aaron, make love to me just once, and I will show you how well I can satisfy those needs too. We can be discreet, and your husband will never find out. And if after this, you do not see yourself with me, I will leave, terribly hurt and trying to figure out how I will cope with this pain. But I will leave if you want me to." With these words, he stood up, came around to my side of the table, and kissed me. When I realized what was happening, I pulled away and told him to leave immediately. He left, and I stayed in the cafe for another 15 minutes before returning to my office. Once there, I locked myself in and tried to make sense of the terrible mess I found myself in. I tried to work because it was work that helped me forget about what had happened earlier that day, but now I could not work anymore. I could not concentrate on the numbers in front of me. All I could do was replay in my head everything that had just happened, and soon, it became a replay of my entire life. Apparently, I completely forgot about our anniversary. I did not even realize how much time had passed since I returned to the office. My phone was turned off so it could not distract me. It was just a complete swirling sensation of emotions, thoughts, memories, everything flying around and banging against the corners of my mind. Then, without knowing it, you handed me 2 rescue ropes, which I grabbed and pulled myself out of the terrible chaos that I had created. I looked at the photo I have on my desk, you know, the one where you were wearing a plaid shirt and one of your faded jeans. You are so handsome in that photo, with that little laugh coming out of your lips. Do you know how many of my female colleagues have walked into my office and just licked their lips at that photo? And every time they do, I am filled with pride, knowing that this handsome man they dream about is my husband. Then I looked at my rings, my wedding and engagement rings, and I immediately remembered those 2 days when you got down on one knee and proposed to me. My heart burst with happiness and love when I told you yes. You stood up and carefully placed the ring on my finger. As I was getting ready to jump into your arms and hug you, I noticed that you were crying. From that day on, I knew that your love for me was stronger than anything in the world. The same thing happened on our wedding day. I just could not believe that I was so lucky to have found my soulmate, my life partner, the one I wanted to be with every day of my life. I know it may be hard for you to believe it now, Sean, but throughout those 2 months, that love never faded. It never went away. It was this love that saved me from what Roger did to me. Sean, it was you whom I promised to spend my whole life with. It is to you that I swore my eternal love. When I realized this, it was as if the fog cleared and the light turned on, and I followed your lifeline back to where I belong. I felt relieved. At some point, I knew that I could remove my foolish behavior and not have to deal with him anymore. And yet, I knew that at some point, I would have to tell you. If we really love each other as much as I know we do, I cannot hide anything from you. I need to tell you everything, even though I know it will hurt both of us. Your pain will be from what I did to you, and my pain will be from seeing how I hurt you. When I looked at the clock, I saw that it was almost 9:30. I could not believe how much time had passed because of all this. I knew I needed to get back to you. I needed to be in my safe place where I was loved unconditionally. I hoped that I could rely on this unconditional love to help me forgive myself for what I had done. I knew I should have told you. I just was not sure how or when. So when I walked in here and you were sitting alone in the dark, I was surprised when you started saying that this was probably the worst day of your life. I was confused until I realized that somehow you found out about my day with Roger in the cafe. I wish I had the chance to tell you all this before you found out about Roger yourself. I would have told you everything. You just kind of forced me into action, and that was exactly what you had to do. Erin stood in front of the couch. She began to unbutton her blouse. When Sean realized what she was going to do, he reached out to try to stop her, but she moved away from him a little. When the last button of her blouse was undone, she took it off and dropped it on the floor next to her. She unfastened the front clasp of her white lace bra, and it soon joined her blouse on the floor. She then reached behind her and unzipped her skirt until it fell, and she slid out carefully. She took off her heels, so all that was left were her white lace panties, which were clearly part of her bra set. When she took them off and stood completely without any clothes in front of Sean, he could hardly restrain the urge to smile and reach out to his wife. Erin knelt in front of Sean. Tears continued to flow down her cheeks. She looked at him and said, "Sean, I love you so much, and I will spend the rest of my life telling you about it. I will also spend my whole life asking for forgiveness for all of this to happen if that is what it takes for you to continue to love me. I open up to you, body, mind, and soul. Please, Sean, please forgive me. Please tell me that you love me and that you will always love me." Sean looked at his wife kneeling in front of him, completely without clothes, and could not help but smile. But he had listened to her talk about the past 2 months with little interruption, and he knew it was his turn to explain how he had felt during the ordeal. He knew it would take some time, and he did not want her to remain sitting on the floor the entire time. "Erin, please sit down. We are here for a long time, and I do not want you to get hurt. Sean, I am already hurt, but if you told me to kneel on glass shards so that you would forgive me and continue to love me, I would do it in a heartbeat." Sean wanted to laugh when he heard her joke, but in fact, he realized that she was serious. He waited until she stood up and returned to the couch, still without any clothes, but at least not kneeling on the floor. Once she was settled, he began his answer. "Erin, first of all, I will never stop loving you no matter what happens. I told you that when I gave you the engagement ring, and I told you that when I gave you the wedding ring. I have said this almost every day of my life. You hurt me deeply with this, and I am not sure I can recover. But it is not because I do not love you. I believe you when you say you did not cheat on me, but in this case, that only means to me that you did not sleep with him. In my mind, you still cheated on me, and I will tell you why. I gave you time to explain what you did. Now please give me time to tell you what you really did to me. Perhaps I will have questions. Can you promise me that you will answer each one truthfully, no matter how difficult it may be?" She lowered her head, then nodded. Sean knew this was his signal to continue. "First of all, a question. When he kissed you, did you kiss him back?" He noticed that her tears began to fall again. She answered very quietly, "Yes. At first, yes. But then I interrupted it." He felt that she wanted to continue. "I stopped it," Sean replied. "I do not think it matters that you stopped. This does not give you any points. If you had stopped it before it started, maybe it would have meant something," he said. "I know, Sean, and I am so sorry. Please, if I could take it all back and fix this, I would do it in a heartbeat. Please, Sean, just stop for now. Erin, we still have a long way to go. I want you to understand the pain you have given me. You say you know, but I do not think you are even close to realizing it. You say you love me, but you have put me in a position where now I have to doubt that love," she exclaimed. "Sean, I know I slipped up, but my love for you is now stronger than ever." "No, Erin, you are wrong. Please let me explain. When you agreed to become my wife, I immediately went into a mode of life where everything I do because I love you. When I go to work, I try to do my best. Because I love you and want to provide for you, when I come home, everything I do here I do because I love you. My whole life is dedicated to loving you. Everything else does not even occur to me. You are my world, Erin. When I wake up, the first thought that comes to my mind is you. When I go to bed, the last thing on my mind is you. Until today, I thought you felt the same way. I have always felt inferior to you because you are this brilliant, smart, and beautiful professional woman with a degree, successfully working in the professional world, and I'm just a carpenter, a jack of all trades with no education. She started to protest, but he interrupted her. And yet, as strange as it may sound, I know that you love me despite my shortcomings. Over the years, I felt more and more that we were at different levels in the chain of life. You have proven your love for me by simply staying with me and never making me feel inferior. This is another reason why I try to do my best for you. I like that in what we did it for each other. All our efforts were aimed at making our life together as good as possible. To me, this is true love, when you dedicate your entire being to loving someone so much that you put them on a higher level than yourself. That is how we were, or at least that is what I thought. But when your boy Toy entered the picture, you switched from this mode, slowly at first, but more and more every day. See, when you started flirting with him, it was not something you did for our relationship. You did it for yourself. When you started talking to him and teasing him, you were doing it for yourself, not for us. Everything you did with him, I am sure, was just for you. In fact, I am sure that whenever you were with him doing anything, I was the furthest thing from your mind at that moment. And I guess I can forgive you for that. Maybe it is unrealistic to expect that everything you do should be for the two of us. I do not want you to feel like I own you or that it is unrealistic for you to have to dedicate every minute of your day to me. But today you went too far. From the moment he kissed you until the time you returned home, you were pondering the decision of whether to stay with me or leave with him. And even if you did not sleep with him, in fact, when you thought about such a choice, you were already cheating on me. When you imagined your life with him instead of me, you cheated. That is why I now doubt your love for me. I can tell you for sure, if the situation were flipped and someone kissed me and asked me to leave my wife for him, I would have ended it a long time ago, before it even got to that point. My love for you is so strong that I automatically say a very strong no to anyone who tries to interfere with this in any way. But you did not. For 2 months, you allowed someone to interfere with our relationship. It may have started out harmless, but I can promise you that it resulted in a tremendous amount of pain. I do not think you can even imagine how much I am suffering right now. The hardest thing I have had to do was question your love for me because of all of this. So now you come home and tell me that you love me and that this is all over, and I really want to believe you. But what you did was make me the winner of a game I did not even know about. There should not have been any game, Aaron. If you loved me as much as I thought you did, there would be no reason at all for you to have to make a choice. So now it comes down to a question of trust. Even if I believe you when you say that I won, that you came back to me, that you love me, that you apologize, all this nonsense, the pain that I feel is still there. First of all, I need to forgive you for this, which perhaps I can do. But secondly, and perhaps this is the most important thing for me in terms of how we continue our relationship, I have to trust that you will not find someone else and that you will not. I have had to decide for 2 months whether you wanted to leave me for him, Sean. I promise you that this will not happen again. Please, Sean, do not talk about finishing what we have. Tell me what I need to do to convince you that I will never leave you. How can I prove to you that I love you as much as you love me? You know, Aaron, I think I believe you when you say those words. The problem is that I'm not sure there is anything you can do to heal what you have done to our marriage. I trusted you and gave myself completely to you one day, only for you to destroy that trust with your actions over the past 2 months. Do you realize that every time I see you talking to another man, I will wonder if this is the man you will leave me for? Every time you leave the house and go somewhere without me, to work, to the store, to meet friends, I will wonder if you will meet the next Roger there, using my incredible beauty and charm to flirt with him until he falls in love with you. Feelings like this will not go away just because you ask me to forgive you and trust you. I wish it were like that it was so easy, and that all I had to do was snap my fingers and all my worries about trust would simply disappear. But this is impossible. So for now, at least, I will have to live with these doubts, wondering what I will do. For the first time in 8 years, I have to make a decision for myself. You put me in this position, Aaron. I did not want to be here, but you selfishly brought me here, and now I have to deal with it. She crawled over to where Sean was sitting on the couch. She laid her naked body against him and said, "Please, Sean, I understand that you will struggle with these trust issues, and I know that I caused them for you because I put you in this situation. Please give me a chance to help you get out of it. Please come to my bed, and let us start working on this trust. Let me show you that only I love you and that I will never give you a reason to doubt it again." He extended his hand to hug her, then said, "As tempting as that may sound, I think I will spend the night in the guest room. I need to be alone to think about this. You spent your time alone during the day and evening, ironically while we should have been together celebrating our anniversary. I need to finish a project for a client tomorrow, and I promised it would be ready. I keep my promises to my clients just as I keep my promises to you. When I get back tomorrow night, I will know what to do about us. As you can imagine, I have a lot to think about, so please give me this time to myself." Erin lifted her head to look at Sean. "Before you go to bed, I need to show you something that may help you make a decision. Please stay here." She got up from the couch and went to the kitchen, where she took out her phone. When she returned to the couch, she turned it on and unlocked it. She flipped through several pages before she found what she was looking for. "Sean, I have 2 things I want to show you that I think will help you understand how serious I am about regaining your trust. I think they will show you how much I love you and that I am ready to do anything to win your love back." She opened her work email to let him see that she had spent the last hour sorting things out. "As soon as I made my decision, please note that these letters are in the sent folder. That is, I have already sent them to those to whom they were addressed. The first is the letter I sent to Roger, where I told him for the last time that I was not interested in him and that he should leave me alone. I warned him that if he made any further attempts, I would file an intimate harassment complaint. If he decides to continue, I will file a restraining order against him." Sean read the email on her phone and saw that it was indeed what she said. Erin said, "That is all well and good, but do you understand that this still requires my trust in you? That you will actually follow through on your promise to file a complaint and an injunction if it comes to that?" Erin nodded her head and said, "I understand, but at the moment, that is all I can do. I hope this shows you how serious I am about us and that I am willing to do anything to regain your trust. In fact, I hope that the second letter I sent will show you this even more." She opened the second email she had sent and, without saying anything else, handed the phone to Sean. He silently read the letter. "To the accounting guide. The situation in my life requires that I resign from my position with the company immediately. I really enjoyed working here, and perhaps someday I will be able to return, but at the moment it is not possible to continue working. I will take a few days off, after which I will return in the evening with my husband to ensure security, to settle my affairs, and to prepare them for transfer to another person. Thank you again for the opportunity to work with you." She electronically signed the letter, and the timestamp showed that it had been sent before she sent the letter to Roger. Sean needed to admit that she had taken a drastic step to try to mend her relationship with him, and she had done this even before she returned home to confess her mistakes. He knew how much she loved this job, and her resignation was a huge sign that she wanted to make their relationship work. He looked up at Erin with a few tears in his eyes. She smiled faintly and said, "Sean, these are my first 2 steps toward you." The letter to Roger was easy to send. The letter to my bosses should have been more difficult, but when I thought about doing something for us, like you said, it was one of the easiest decisions of my life. It was just easier to fall in love with you. I hope this shows you how much I still love you and how much I am willing to do to regain your trust." She crawled over to Sean and placed both hands on his face, leaning down to kiss him. He kissed her back. Under normal circumstances, he knew this would have led to them going to bed and making love late into the night. But today, it was impossible. There were more important things to resolve before their relationship could return to normal, if that was even possible. Sean broke the kiss and said, "Erin, this is a huge gesture, and I promise you that as I consider my options, it will mean a lot. But now, I need to go to bed and get some sleep. I need to be fully alert tomorrow to complete my work with the client. Before I go, remember this, no matter how much you hurt me today, I still love you, and I will never stop." Erin pressed herself close to him and replied, "I know you love me, Sean. If you did not love me, you would have kicked me out as soon as I returned home. All I can do now is keep thinking about how I can prove to you that I will never hurt you again if you give me a chance. Please, Sean, please let me prove it. I love you too." They separated and went their separate ways. She went into their bedroom, and he went into the guest room. To say that Sean slept through the night would be an exaggeration. Between periods of sleep, he woke up absorbed in his thoughts, and the decision overwhelmed him. There were many reasons to forgive and stay, but he still struggled with the pain in his heart, a pain he never thought he would experience. He got up early in the morning and prepared to leave, trying not to disturb Erin. He really did not want to contact her until he made his final decision. He wanted his choices to be as free as possible from emotions that might cloud his judgment. It was hard to explain her sight of herself last night when she sat without anything in front of him on the couch. He fought the urge to pull her toward him. He felt like he had to resist his urge to take her, hold her, and love her, because even if they did, the pain would remain. That is why he decided to leave in the morning without seeing her. He threw himself into work and completed his project ahead of schedule. The client thanked him and promised to call if further assistance was needed. She also took some of his business cards to give to her friends. Such advertising through word of mouth helped him achieve success. He was not ready to return home, so he decided to stop at a cafe on the way. He went inside, and the waitress who had worked there yesterday was back in her place. She recognized him immediately and smiled. "How are you?" she asked. "I apologize again for what I had to say to you yesterday," Sean said. He smiled at her. "As you can imagine, it was a little difficult for me. We are in limbo. Nothing has been decided yet, but I wanted to come in and give you this." He took out a piece of paper from his pocket on which she had left him her number. "Even though she hurt me, I am not ready to meet someone else yet. I appreciate the gesture, but now is not the time," he said. She took the paper and said, "I understand. If I can help in any way, even just to listen, you know where to find me. But I hope everything works out for you. No one deserves the pain you must be feeling right now. Thank you. Do you mind if I just sit at our table for a while? It does not look like you are very busy. If I need to leave, please tell me. But I think I just want to sit for a while." She smiled and said, "Of course you can. Would you like some free iced tea?" "That would be great. Thank you." She walked him back to the very table where their relationship had begun 8 years and 1 day ago. After she brought him a glass of iced tea, she left him alone. She came over periodically to refill his tea, but otherwise respected his privacy. She knew he was thinking about difficult things. Sean looked over the day. He was still kicking himself for not noticing the change in Erin's behavior over the past 2 months. He thought that maybe she had hidden everything from him so well. If so, it had greatly damaged his trust in her. If she could hide this 2-month affair, what else could she be hiding? On the other hand, maybe he simply did not notice the changes in her behavior because he was so engrossed in his work that he did not pay attention to the subtle changes she was probably showing. He was so desperate to be successful for her in his work that he might have overlooked the other things she needed. He knew of other relationships that were struggling because someone's professional life interfered with their personal life. He wondered how he could trust her again. He had no doubt that she was sincere in what she told him yesterday when she admitted what she had done and begged for a chance to show that he could learn to trust her again. Her leaving a job she loved was a huge step, and she did it herself. He did not even know if he would expect that to be part of the conditions he would consider if he decided to take her back. She had done it herself, and it said a lot about her desire to regain his trust. His phone beeped, and he saw that it was a message from Erin. She wanted to know when he would be coming home and told him that she missed him and loved him. He replied that he was sitting at their table in the cafe. She asked if she could come to him, and he replied that he would be glad. 20 minutes later, she walked through the door. The hostess recognized her immediately and escorted her to their table. Sitting down opposite him, she kissed his cheek. Looking at the hostess who was already leaving, she said, "I told you that, right? Did she give you her number too?" Sean smiled. "Yes, and yes. But one of the reasons I came here today was to get her number back. I would not do that to you, Erin. No matter what happens next, even if we go our separate ways, as long as we are married, I will not cheat on you." Erin lowered her head and said, "I know that you will not change, although you, of course, would have every right to do so after what I did to you. Sean, are you still thinking about leaving me? I cried all day thinking about it. All I can say is that I love you, and I am so sorry that I put you through such pain. You will see that I can regain your trust if you give me a chance to heal this pain. Please, Sean, please." She looked up at him, and there were tears in her eyes. His first reaction was to go to her and hug her, wiping her tears and assuring her that he would never leave. At the same time, an image appeared in his mind of a man he had never met, with whom she had started a 2-month relationship without informing him. Also, the fact that she had kissed that man right here, in the very cafe where their relationship had begun. This image overshadowed his perception of a crying wife asking for forgiveness. He also thought about the pain he felt when he learned that just yesterday she was seriously considering leaving their relationship for something new and potentially more exciting. He thought he could forgive flirting because sometimes people do it without thinking. He might even be able to forgive the kiss at some point, although it would take time. But he was not sure he could forgive the time she spent putting their relationship in jeopardy. The fact that she had decided to stay with him now was not very comforting. The fact that she had thought about leaving for more than a moment was where he truly felt. Betrayed by Aaron, with these conflicting thoughts in his head, he made a decision. He looked at his beautiful wife and said, "Aaron, I love you and always will, but I never expected the kind of pain you caused me. This is the most difficult decision of my life. Aaron, I have decided to give us a chance to work on this." She tensed, waiting to hear his decision. When he finally voiced his feelings, she collapsed on the table in front of her and began to sob. She looked up at Sean, trying to read his facial expression and body language. When he extended his arms toward her, she did not think twice about running into his embrace and hugging him tightly, feeling relieved. They remained in this position for what seemed like an eternity. When she loosened her embrace a little, she placed a chair right next to him, then looked into his eyes and said, "Thank you, my dear. I am so sorry I put you through this. I promise that I will do everything to prove my love to you and to never cause you such pain again." Sean wiped some of her tears from her cheeks, kissed her on the cheek, and said, "I know you will, but it is not something you need to think about right now. When I told you my decision, I said I wanted to give us a chance, not just you. Do you see the difference?" Aaron looked at him in surprise. "I see the difference, but I was the one who ruined everything, Sean. I was the one who almost destroyed our marriage." Sean tried to hide his smile. "I know that, Aaron. At least, that is what it looks like at first glance. There were things you did that you should not have done, or things you did not do that you should have. I am sure there will be plenty of time to talk about everything that happened. I asked you to tell me the truth last night, and I think you did. But I also think there are still some questions that need answering. These issues will need to be discussed before we have any chance of success in the future. I do not know if this will help me trust you again, but I think, for the health of our marriage, some hard questions will need to be asked. But," he continued, "as I thought about it last night when I could not sleep, and again today, I realized that maybe I too have problems that I need to deal with. Maybe there were things I did or did not do that made you think it was okay to flirt with him. Maybe I did not notice the signs that something was going on because I did not want to think that something might be wrong. I have always imagined an absolutely perfect life with A. I always imagined a perfect woman, and together we would be a perfect couple, always treating each other with love and kindness, which would mean we would live together happily for the rest of our lives. But now I see that something happened I never expected, and I want us to understand what it was, together. What I feel now is that I do not want to look for someone to blame. I do not want us to think it was 70% your fault and 30% mine, or 60% mine and 40% yours. I do not care how angry I should be at you, or how angry you should be at me. I only care about what we can do to ensure that something like this never happens again." Aaron smiled at Sean and said, "I want that too, Sean. While you were thinking last night and today, I had the entire day off from work to reflect on what I did, and more importantly, why I did it. I feel so ashamed, and I am not even sure I have all the answers yet. But there is one thing I would like to suggest. Let us go to counseling together, marriage therapy. Let us try to find someone we can both agree on, and see if we can understand what went wrong and how to avoid it in the future." "Counseling was also something I thought about today," Sean replied. "Do you remember the Hastings, Diana and Rick? They went to marriage therapy a couple of years ago, and they said it helped their relationship tremendously. They really appreciated their therapist. I cannot recall her name, but they said she helped them dig deeper into their issues and uncover problems they had buried for years. Maybe we should call them and find out her name. Aaron nodded. I can call them tomorrow while you are at work. I can even call and make the appointment. Just give me a couple of days when you would be free to attend. She hesitated, then continued. Also, would you be willing to come with me to the office tomorrow evening? I need to hand over my projects to someone else. I just do not want to risk being there alone in case he shows up. Sean hugged her. Of course I will go with you. But are you sure this is what you want? I remember you said the flirting was mutual at the beginning, but what he did later was not just inappropriate, it was harassment. Where's the accountability for him if you leave and he gets to stay? You love that job so much. She nodded slowly. I really did love that job. But it is also the place where I nearly destroyed my marriage because of my own terrible decisions. Even if Roger left, I would not feel comfortable being there anymore. Right now, I would rather spend my time working on us, on our marriage, if you are willing to fight for us. I want to do everything in my power to make this work. Maybe it is time to look for something new. Maybe it is even time to try starting something of my own, something small, working from home. She paused, then leaned over and kissed Sean on the cheek. She asked the question that had been lingering in her mind ever since he said he was willing to try to repair their relationship. Sean, what are you going to do? Will you stay with me in our home? What is the next step? He thought for a moment, and every second of silence made her more anxious. Finally, he said, I really do not have anywhere else to go. The thought of staying in a motel or a tiny apartment does not appeal to me at all. I would rather stay in our home while we try to figure things out. But you have to understand, it is going to take time to get even close to what we once had. I think that should be our goal, either to rebuild what we had or learn how to live with a new reality. She smiled with relief. I am so glad to hear that. Then let us go home. Let us start putting the pieces back together. I am ready to show you that you can trust me again, and that you do not have to worry about something like this happening in the future. Little did either of them know at that moment that it would be their last visit to the cafe for a very long time. They had shared many beautiful moments there, but just as their relationship had gone through a storm, the romantic feeling they once associated with the cafe had faded. Aaron started the car. Aaron drove towards their house, and Sean followed in his truck. Somewhere along the way, they lost contact. When Aaron arrived home first and saw that Sean was not there, she tried to convince herself it was only a delay caused by traffic. But deep down, she began to worry that he had changed his mind. About 10 minutes later, just as she was reaching for her phone to call him and find out where he was, she heard the familiar sound of his truck pulling into the driveway. Relieved, she walked to the door and saw the reason for his delay. He had stopped at their favorite pizzeria and was carrying a takeout box with her favorite, deep dish pizza with extra cheese. To an outsider, it might have seemed like a small gesture. But to her, it meant everything. Even though she had nearly destroyed their marriage, this simple act showed her that he still cared, he still loved her. They chatted lightly over dinner. There was tension in the air, both of them felt it. They knew this tension would likely be a part of their new reality for some time. After dinner, they made plans for the next day. Sean would be busy with home renovations and had to work the entire day. Aaron planned to reach out to her friend Diana Hastings to get the name of the marriage therapist Diana and her husband had seen. When Sean returned from work, he would accompany Aaron to her office so she would not have to go alone while handing over her responsibilities. That evening brought another dilemma, bedtime. Since the incident, they had been sleeping in separate rooms while Sean considered his next steps. Neither of them had been sleeping well. Sean looked at Aaron and said, "Honey, I do not want to sleep in the guest room tonight. But you have to understand, I am not quite ready for everything to go back to how it was. I was thinking we could sleep in the same bed, just sleep, for now." Aaron smiled. It was more than she had expected. She nodded and took his hand, leading him to their bedroom. He wore shorts, and she wore a long t-shirt. Sometime during the night, Sean rolled over and pressed his body gently against her back. He placed his right arm over her, resting his hand softly on her right side. She awoke as he settled in behind her and felt the warmth of his presence. Though she was fully covered, the closeness brought her great comfort. She smiled to herself and drifted back to sleep. The next morning, Sean woke up early. He quietly showered, got dressed, and left without waking Erin. He felt an increased sense of responsibility towards his clients, especially now that Erin was uncertain about when, or if, she would return to work. He was determined not to let problems in their marriage affect his professional life. In fact, immersing himself in his projects may have helped him cope with the emotional uncertainty of their new reality. His work was stable and manageable, unlike the fragile state of their relationship. Erin eventually woke up and, realizing Sean had already left, began to go about her morning routine. She found Diana Hastings' phone number and gave her a call. After explaining a few details about what had happened, Diana gave her the contact information for Dr. Jessica Brown, the marriage therapist she and her husband Rick had worked with. Erin sent a text to Sean asking which days he might be available for appointments. When he responded, she called Dr. Brown's office and found out that the first sessions are always conducted individually. She scheduled 2 appointments, one for herself and one for Sean, with a 1-day gap between them. When Sean returned home from work the next evening, he discovered something unusual. Erin had prepared dinner for him. This was not something that happened often, especially lately. Sean arrived home before Erin and started preparing dinner. It was his responsibility, and he did not mind doing it. However, he admitted that when dinner is already made, it becomes one of life's simple and pleasant comforts. After dinner, they drove to Erin's office so she could begin the process of handing over her business to another accountant. During the drive, Erin shared some surprising news. "Today, I received a letter from an accounting firm," she said. "After they received my resignation, the management reviewed the situation and discovered my relationship with Roger. The letter did not include any details, but they asked me to reconsider my decision and asked me to contact them as soon as possible." Sean looked at her and asked, "Did you call them?" Erin shook her head. "No, I did not call. I honestly do not want to. I just want to stay away from that environment. If you think we can manage on one income for a while, I do not want you to worry about the money." Sean nodded. "I believe we can live on my salary for some time. It would just mean skipping things like buying new cars or taking expensive vacations, and I do not think we need those right now." He reached out and gently placed his hand on her leg. "Erin, what do you truly want to do, if you listen to your inner voice?" She sighed. "I wish we could go back and erase the last 2 months so I could avoid making the mistake that brought us here. I know that is not possible. But I want to do everything I can to stop this from getting worse. Right now, I think not going back to work will give us a better chance. It will remove some of the stress I created at the office." Sean nodded in agreement. "Then that is what we will do. The decision is made. We do not need to talk about it anymore." "Thank you, Sean," she said softly. "I really think this is the best choice, at least for now." Soon, they arrived at the accounting office. As they pulled into the parking lot, Erin suddenly tensed. "Oh no," she muttered. "What is it, love?" Sean asked. She pointed toward a car parked near the building. "He is here. That is Roger's car. I cannot go in there right now. Please, can we leave?" Sean paused. "Erin, are you sure that is his car?" "Yes," she replied quietly. "I really do not want to see him. Can we come back later?" Sean stopped the car but did not turn it around. "Erin, I will not force you to go inside. But if we go in together now, he will see that you are not alone. He will understand that he has no place in your life. You can tell him the truth, that you are only here to finalize your departure and transfer your accounts to someone else." Erin hesitated, then nodded. "I understand. This would be my chance to look him in the eyes and make it clear that there is no future between us. But honestly, I was hoping I would never have to see him again." Sean placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "You do not have to do anything you are not ready for. But I will be right there with you, and I will not let anything happen. Will you be okay if you see him? You are not worried I will lose control, are you?" Erin gave a weak smile. "You are not going to hurt him, are you?" Sean let out a laugh. "No, I am not going to hurt him. He is not worth the consequences. I just want to make sure he understands that you are not available." Aaron's expression softened. "Okay, Sean. If you are with me, I can do this. And it was nice to hear you say that I am not available. Every time you say something like that, it gives me hope." Sean reached for her hand and gave it a reassuring squeeze. He truly loved her. Despite the pain she had caused him, he was beginning to believe that they might be able to rebuild what was broken. He parked their car 2 spaces away from Roger's. They walked toward the building together, and Erin pulled out her key to unlock the office door. They decided not to look for Roger. Instead, they went directly to her office, thinking that if any confrontation happened, it would be initiated by him. As they stepped inside, Erin froze for a moment, as if she had seen a ghost. When she felt ready, she walked briskly to her office, with Sean following behind and closing the door. Erin sat at her desk and began by responding to the letter from her superiors, who had asked her to reconsider her resignation. Then she got to work organizing her files and updating the information on each account to prepare them for the transition. About 30 minutes later, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Erin looked at Sean, understanding that a confrontation was likely moments away. A gentle knock on the door confirmed it. Roger was outside. Sean stood up and opened the door, coming face to face for the first time with the man who had been trying to steal his wife away for the past 2 months. A wave of anger passed through him, but he held it in check and calmly stepped aside. Roger entered, his face pale with surprise and discomfort. He had clearly not expected to see Sean. As Roger turned to leave, he glanced out the window and saw Erin's car in the parking lot. Now he knew she was here, and he also knew she was not alone. Roger was probably already at the office. However, he did not consider the possibility that Erin might not be alone. He certainly was not prepared to see another man, especially her husband, standing between them. Erin was the first to break the awkward silence. "Roger, what are you doing here? I thought I made it clear that I do not want to see you anymore." Roger swallowed, visibly tense. It was clear he assumed that the man standing with Erin was her husband. "I know you said that," he replied, "but I came to apologize for my actions. There is no excuse for what I did. Even though I thought we were getting along well, I should have had better self-control. If this is your husband, I want to apologize to both of you." Erin glanced briefly at Sean before turning back to Roger. "Your apology cannot undo what happened. But the truth is, you were not the only one at fault. Sean and I talked about everything. He knows I made mistakes too, for letting it begin and for not stopping it when things escalated. I betrayed my marriage by entertaining the attention you gave me. But Sean has chosen to give us a chance to heal and move forward." She paused, then added, "I am sure you already know, but I resigned. My marriage is more important than my job, and I'm trying to move past this chapter. The only reason I am here today is to finish transferring my responsibilities. If I had known you were going to be here, I would not have come." Roger nodded slowly. "I am only here to collect my belongings. I was fired. After you resigned, management began looking into everything. It did not take long for them to connect the dots. They gave me 2 months severance and told me to leave immediately. I just came to pack my things and will return the keys tomorrow. I do not know what I will do next." Erin replied with a neutral tone, "It is unfortunate that you lost your job, but I am not surprised. Perhaps I would have been let go as well, but I left before they had the chance." She did not mention the letter she received from management asking her to reconsider her resignation. Nor did she tell him that she was unsure how much he had disclosed to their superiors. But she knew that she, too, bore responsibility for the circumstances that led to Roger's termination. Then Erin asked, "Is there anything else?" Roger looked first at Sean, then lowered his eyes to the floor. "No, that is all. I just want to say I am truly sorry. I hope you two can get through this." With that, he turned and walked out of the office. Sean looked at Erin and said quietly, "Stay here." Then he followed Roger down the hallway. By the time he caught up, Roger had reached his own office and was placing a few personal items into a cardboard box. Sean stood in the doorway and asked calmly, "Why, Roger? Why did you pursue her the way you did?" Roger paused, then asked hesitantly, "Are you sure you want me to answer that? I really do not want to get into a fight here." Sean shook his head. I am not going to hit you. I just want to understand. Roger sighed. Because I have never met a woman like her. From the first moment she was introduced to me, I was captivated by her beauty, the kindness in her eyes, the way she shook my hand so gently, the sincere smile on her face. It was obvious she was an incredible person. He hesitated, then continued. I took more risks than I ever had before. At first, she responded to my flirtations. She even flirted back. I truly believed we had something. But then she began to pull away. She asked me to stop. I did not want to. I increased the compliments. I sent her notes, many of which, honestly, I regret. She asked me again to stop, but I still believed there was a chance. He looked away before finishing the thought. 2 days ago, I found out she was at a cafe across the street. I decided to make my final move. Away from the office, I thought it would be different. I approached her, told her how I felt, and, as you probably know, I kissed her. Later, when she sent me that letter, I realized I had gone too far. But I still did not want to believe it was over. Roger gave a small shrug. Then I learned she quit. That is when I understood she was running away from this, from me. Yesterday, they told me I was fired. So now, it is over. You end up with her, and I lose everything. Honestly, I think my punishment fits the mistake I made. Sean looked at him steadily. I have one more question. In all this time, did she ever mention me? Did she ever say she was married? Roger paused, thinking carefully. No, he finally said. I do not remember her saying anything about you. I figured she was married because she wore rings, but we never really talked about her personal life, about you. Why do you ask? Sean replied, because I want to know everything. I need to understand what happened, so I can make sure this never happens again. Because of you, we have a lot of work to do now, and I need to find all the answers I can, Sean said firmly. Roger looked Sean directly in the eyes and replied, well, believe it or not, I hope everything works out for you. You are a lucky man, Sean. I thought I had a chance, but in the end, you turned out to be the better man. Good luck. With those words, Roger left their lives. Sean realized that if he never saw him again, he would be perfectly fine with that. He returned to his wife's office just in time to see her turning off her computer. She looked up at him and asked, why did you follow him? Because I want to know as much as possible. I want to understand what caused all of this, he answered. If we are going to get through this, we need to put everything on the table and figure out how to make sure it never happens again. I will do anything to learn how to trust you again, Aaron. There may be more things we both do not like hearing, but if facing them helps us build a stronger marriage, then it will be worth it. He paused before continuing. If you told me the truth that night, and I still believe you did, then you have nothing to fear. I just needed to hear his point of view. He looked her in the eyes and said gently, you are a beautiful woman, Aaron. He will not be the last person to look at you and want more. Some men may settle for fantasies, but others, like Roger, will try to pursue something real. When that happens again, and it might, I need to be sure you can resist it. Aaron walked around her desk and approached Sean. She reached out to hug him, and he embraced her in return. She laid her head on his chest, finding comfort in the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. I will spend all my time trying to regain your trust, my love. I love you so much, she whispered. Thank you for coming with me today. If you can come tomorrow, I think I will have time to finish everything and leave that office forever. I will take you, he said. I am not going to let you go back there alone. And maybe, in a strange way, it was a good thing we ran into Roger. I am not upset that he was fired. That part feels justified. They got into the car and drove home. It was late enough that they both went straight to the bedroom. As before, Sean settled beside Aaron, covering them both with a blanket. He thought about the day, especially their conversation with Roger. He knew the road ahead was still long. It continued to bother him that Aaron had never mentioned him to Roger during the 2 months they worked together. This would need to be addressed, perhaps during counseling. Maybe a professional could help him understand. That night, they slept together again, holding each other, but nothing more. It was an awkward situation. They were physically close but still hesitated to move forward in their intimacy. Both wanted more, but the emotional distance still lingered. Despite this, the warmth of each other's presence brought comfort in a deep, restful sleep, something they both needed as they tried to confront the unspoken tension between them. A couple of days before their first appointment with Dr. Brown, a marriage counselor, Sean and Aaron were sitting in the living room after dinner. The incident was now 3 weeks behind them, and both felt they were taking meaningful steps toward rebuilding their damaged relationship. However, they still had not made love, and Aaron noticed that Sean's face still carried a trace of pain. They avoided talking about it too much, knowing that conversation often only brought back painful memories. Still, both hoped that the counseling sessions would be as successful for them as they had been for other couples they knew. Even though they now spent every night together, Aaron missed the small conversations they used to share, talks about their day, weekend plans, or future goals. And now that she was not working, she began to feel the emptiness of her days at home. The routine of sitting alone all day offered no stimulation or purpose. She missed using her accounting skills, the ones she had spent years developing. She missed her colleagues, the camaraderie and the sense of being part of something meaningful. They had been part of her life for nearly 10 years. Suddenly, the absence of her old life became a painful reminder that her actions had hurt not only her husband but also herself. So, as Aaron sat next to Sean that evening, she asked the bold question. "Sean, how would you feel if I came to work with you tomorrow?" she said softly. "I know I do not know anything about your work, but maybe there are ways I could help. Sitting here all day drives me crazy, and I think it would be good for me." She smiled and said, "It would be nice to spend the day with you." Her idea caught Sean off guard, and he thought about it for a moment. There were definitely times he had wished for an extra pair of hands, whether to help with a project, run errands, or tidy up at the end of a long day. He had never had enough consistent work to justify hiring a full-time assistant, so he had gotten used to doing everything himself. "Do you think you can handle it?" he asked. "It's not exactly a glamorous office job, no cushy chair or spreadsheets. It's a lot of physical work." As he said this, he looked at her and saw that familiar grin, the one she always gave him when he made a playful comment. She smiled and replied, "I know. But it'll be much better than sitting here alone all day. I'd be happy to do anything that helps you do your job better." Sean nodded. There are definitely times when one more person would make a big difference. "We'll start small, but you're smart. I'm sure you'll catch on quickly. Just keep in mind that when I'm at work, I'm focused on the job. I don't want to be distracted by personal matters while I'm on site." "I understand," Aaron said. "I wouldn't expect anything different from you or from myself. This is just a chance to be there for you and support what you do so well. Can we try it, at least for a day, and see how it goes?" "Of course. Why not? Looks like you have a job tomorrow," he said with a smile. Aaron walked over and sat beside him on the couch. She leaned in to kiss him, and he pulled her into an embrace. Looking into his eyes, she said softly, "Thank you, Sean. I'll do my best to be helpful. But honestly, just spending time with you is the best gift." Later that night, when they went to bed, Sean didn't wait for her to reach for him like she sometimes did. He gently pulled her close on his own. They fell asleep wrapped in each other's arms. It was the most intimate and peaceful night they had shared since everything had changed. The next morning, Aaron woke up before Sean. When he opened his eyes, the smell of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon filled the air. He walked into the kitchen, wearing just his shorts, and found her at the stove already dressed for the day. She wore a plaid long-sleeve shirt, faded jeans, and her gardening boots. Her hair was pulled back into a ponytail that poked through the back of her baseball cap. She turned to him and smiled. "Good morning, boss. I thought that since it's our first day working together, you deserved a good breakfast to start it right." As he watched her, he realized she looked like something out of a dream, a comforting, genuine presence he hadn't known he missed so much. He walked over and kissed her softly. She finished placing the bacon on a plate to drain and cracked a few eggs into the pan. "I can't promise I'll make breakfast like this every day," she said, keeping her eyes on the skillet. "But this is my way of saying thank you for letting me come with you." I'm really looking forward to spending the day together." They sat down and ate the breakfast she had made. As Sean watched her excitement, he was reminded of children on Christmas morning, eager, hopeful, and full of joy. When they were done, Aaron gathered the dishes and loaded the dishwasher while Sean went to get ready. The day turned out better than either of them had expected. Sean jumped right into his current project, a bathroom renovation. At first, Aaron simply watched him work, observing how he handled tools and moved through each task. Gradually, she began helping, learning the names of the tools and handing them to him when needed. She also kept the work area clean, which saved him time later in the day. Throughout the day, Sean couldn't help but admire her. He loved the way she looked in her work clothes, the way her smile lit up when their eyes met, and the small moments they shared as they worked side by side. Their partnership felt natural. At one point, while working particularly close together, he gently placed a hand on her shoulder and back, just offering a bit of support or affection. He noticed then how relaxed and comfortable she was around him, and he realized how much it meant to have her there, not just emotionally, but physically present and engaged in his world. Still, he stayed focused on the task at hand, determined not to let anything distract him. They had come too far to lose focus now. By the end of the day, they packed up the tools together, tired but satisfied. It had been a good day, productive, meaningful, and filled with small but powerful reminders of the bond they were slowly rebuilding. Sean realized that he had accomplished more than he had originally planned. He glanced over at Erin as she finished the last bit of cleaning before they left. She worked as quickly and efficiently as she had at the start of the day. Having an extra pair of hands meant he was able to complete the job faster than expected. He knew his client would be pleased with the results. If Erin continued to help as well as she did today, they would be able to take on more projects, increasing their revenue. On the way home, he asked, "How did you like your first day working with me?" Erin laughed joyfully, clearly eager to share her thoughts. "It was wonderful. I really enjoyed spending the day with you. I realized how much you know and how skilled you are. I do not know nearly everything about your abilities yet, but I learned a lot today. I hope I was helpful enough for you to want to try this again tomorrow." Sean smiled as he answered, "To tell you the truth, thanks to your help, I accomplished more today than I usually do on my own. You have been a great assistant, and if you want, the position is still open." "Seriously?" Erin asked. "I agree. I am very glad to hear I was helpful to you." "I am looking forward to tomorrow," Sean said. When they arrived home, Sean parked the work truck in the garage and they went inside. Erin began to take off her cap, but Sean stopped her. Instead, he turned her toward him and kissed her firmly and with intent. He wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her closer. His sudden passion surprised Erin. She had been waiting for this moment for a long time after the incident, but had been hesitant to rush him while he was still dealing with the pain she had caused him. Her heart fluttered from the intensity of his kiss. These 3 weeks without closeness had been the longest of their marriage, and she hoped he would now begin to bring things back to a better place. He broke the kiss and took a few steps back. "Let us go to the bedroom." Her heart fluttered again, and she almost ran to the end of the house. When Sean entered the bedroom, she was already standing and waiting for his next instruction, ready to follow whatever he wanted. "Take off your shoes and socks," he said. She sat down on the edge of the bed, quickly untied her shoes, and tossed them into the corner of the room. The socks followed, and then she stood before him again. Her face was flushed, and warmth spread through her body. "Unbutton your shirt, but do not take it off," he instructed. She started at the top and quickly undid all the buttons, leaving the shirt open. It was clear she was not wearing a bra. "Now take off your jeans," Sean said. She removed them as gracefully as possible, even though her skinny jeans sometimes required effort to get off. As she bent down to pull them off, her shirt fell open further, revealing more of her. When the jeans were removed, she stood before him in only her underwear, the open shirt, and the cap still on her head. Without taking his eyes off her, Sean began to undress. He took off his boots first, then removed his jeans and shirt, and finally his cap. He placed all these items in a pile behind him. Now he stood before her wearing only blue cotton shorts. They looked at each other for a moment. She could barely contain the urge to move closer, but Sean had other plans, which he was about to share. "Take off your underwear," he said softly. She obeyed. Then, they shared a moment of closeness and intimacy. She whispered in his ear, "Oh my God, Sean. That was incredible. Was this a reward for being such a good worker today?" He chuckled and replied, "I do not care what you call it, but you look so pretty in your outfit that I could hardly wait to get home and show you how much it affected me." They kissed again, each expressing their feelings in their own way. They both felt that this day had helped them overcome another obstacle standing in the way of their relationship returning to normal. As the days passed, Aaron continued to work with Sean, learning more about his talents and abilities as a carpenter and handyman. Eventually, he would teach her how to use some of the power tools needed for his work. She also took it upon herself to go online and begin researching aspects of interior design. This was an area that Sean had never felt comfortable in, so she knew that if she could gain a better understanding of the currently popular design trends, they could offer more options to their clients. This, in turn, could open even more opportunities to expand their business. Both of them met separately with Dr. Brown, who wanted to hear from each of them about Aaron's 2 months of absence. When they finally met together, Dr. Brown had specific questions she wanted them to discuss. In Aaron's case, she felt they needed to figure out together why flirting with Roger had awakened repressed memories of her past, specifically of wild times in college. During this session, Aaron decided that Sean needed to hear about her past, even though he had not asked her to share. She explained that her parents had been very strict during her upbringing, similar to Sean's own experience. She went to college as an innocent young woman, but once that innocence was taken from her, it felt as if the gates had opened. She believed she still had a lot of time to catch up. At this point, she began looking for relationships not as potential life partners, but rather as temporary experiences. Later that night, or perhaps earlier, Sean listened as Aaron explained that she really had no idea how many partners she had because keeping track was not her priority at the time. Finally, she reached her limit in September of her freshman year. She woke up one morning without her clothes in her dorm bed. She had no idea how she had gotten there or what had happened to her. As she searched for her clothes and tried to quietly leave the dorm, taking what is sometimes called the walk of shame back to her apartment, she knew she needed to make a change. In her mind, it was as if she was trying to wash away every encounter where her body had been used by others for their own pleasure. That morning, she made the decision to leave that lifestyle behind and focus on her studies, preparing for the rest of her life. She made an appointment at the college clinic to get tested for illnesses and felt extremely relieved and happy when the results came back clear. She was determined to settle down and leave behind her previous lifestyle so completely that she did not allow another man to be intimate with her until she met a man at a cafe 4 years later, with whom she immediately fell in love. She had remained celibate all that time, waiting for the right person. During her session with Dr. Brown, they were trying to understand why flirting with Roger had brought those repressed memories back into the present. Seeing Roger's desire for her reminded Aaron of the power she had once discovered a woman's body could have over a man. Part of the guilt she felt over her experience with Roger came from trying to bury those college memories because she did not believe that any man who knew her past could truly love her. During those difficult 2 months, Aaron was in turmoil and felt powerless, even though her marriage was at stake. When Sean heard her talk about her past, he felt the pain she was going through. He had to admit that if he had known about her past as much as he did now, he might not have pursued a relationship with her after that first meeting in the cafe. However, he also knew that he had told her he was not interested in her past but wanted to focus on their future together. That was one of the reasons why Aaron had fallen in love with him so deeply. Looking at her now, Sean knew he had to say something. As horrified as he was to hear about her past, he realized that the pain she had experienced in sharing it with him must have been almost as intense as the pain he felt when he learned about her difficult 2-month episode with Roger. During the first 8 years of their marriage, Sean had never once doubted Aaron's love and affection for him. For the first time since the incident with Roger, he felt that her stories about her past could demonstrate the same level of love again. Under Dr. Brown's watchful gaze, Sean stood up and walked over to where Aaron was sitting. He helped her to her feet, lifted her face with his hands, and said, "Aaron, when I first told you I loved you, I did not say it because of your past. I said it because of our future. I still believe that. I love you and I always will." But now that you have told me everything, if you ever feel like your past is threatening our present, please tell me. Let me help you deal with it before it affects our marriage." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she looked at Sean and replied, "Of course, I will. I promise not to hide anything from you anymore. I love you so much." With that, they hugged and kissed, marking another milestone in the healing process of their marriage. Dr. Brown gave them some time before continuing. She then turned her attention to Sean and said that she had detected his feelings of insecurity about being married to Aaron. She asked him to share his first experiences so Aaron could hear them. Sean said that he too was raised by strict parents who believed that studying in college was not as important as mastering a profession. Since no one in his family went to university, he discovered in high school that he enjoyed working with wood and using the repair skills he learned from his father. He began looking for work as a laborer, listing general repair and remodeling work on his resume. Business was slow at first, but he soon began to earn enough to move out of his parents' house at the age of 20 and start an independent life. Hard work and good results allowed him to gradually build a client base. Over time, he accumulated a list of customers which helped him avoid long periods without work. He felt confident when he created a brochure with before and after photos of the work he had completed. In the process of building his business, he had almost no time for his personal life. He often worked long hours because he underestimated the time needed to complete a project and wanted to completely satisfy his clients by finishing the job on time. So, on that fateful day in the cafe when Aaron sat at his table, Sean felt intimidated because this beautiful, professional woman was talking to him, just a simple laborer with no formal training. Even as they continued to communicate and grow closer, he had his feelings of insecurity, always fearing that she would one day wake up and realize that he was not good enough for her. Yet, this did not happen, and by the time they married 6 years ago, his fears had all but disappeared. When they attended social events for an accounting firm, sometimes those fears would return because he felt like the only uneducated person there. However, Aaron never made him feel inferior. He realized that she loved him for who he was, not who he thought he should be. When he found out about her episode with Roger, all those feelings of fear came back at once. While he was very angry at her for hurting their relationship, he also feared that what Aaron saw in Roger might be present in the other colleagues she worked with. Part of his decision to stay or leave was based on the thought that maybe he should leave so she could find someone who was as educated as she was. When Aaron heard this, she could not wait to talk to Sean. The first thing she said was, "Sean, have I ever shown you that you are not my equal? On the contrary, for me, you are a strong support in our relationship. Do you know this? Do you see how much I need you? This should be obvious now after everything that has happened. You must be my support." He looked at her and said, "No, you are not the reason for my feelings. That is one of the things I love about you." She replied, "Okay. In fact, after being at work with you the last few weeks, I can see how much skill you have. It was exciting to watch you work and to see how patiently you taught me and showed me how I could help you." Dr. Brown was surprised to learn that they worked together. She concluded the session by noting the positives in their development. She recommended reducing the number of sessions to once every 2 weeks, and later to once a month. The latest development in the restoration of Sean and Aaron's marriage came as a complete surprise. It came in the form of a phone call. It had been 9 months since the near breakup of their marriage. By this time, Aaron was actively involved in several aspects of the business, managing all the financial. Aaron's work involved creating design projects for clients and working alongside Sean every day, improving her skills under his guidance. She even designed an advertising logo for the company. Now they wore matching t-shirts featuring this logo. These t-shirts became their corporate uniform, and they wore them whenever they worked on site. She also took responsibility for answering calls and organizing schedules. One morning, while they were on site, Aaron answered the company phone, assuming it was a routine matter, such as a request for an estimate or a call from a supplier. However, she was surprised when the caller said, "Hello, my name is Rachel Boone. I am the owner of Hometown Cafe in the city center. More than 10 years have passed since the last renovation, and it is time to update the interior. Your company was recommended to me because you did a great job for a friend of mine. Can we meet to discuss this?" Aaron almost dropped her phone. This was their cafe, or at least the cafe that had once been theirs. Neither of them had set foot in its doors since what they had begun to call Decision Day. She banged her fist slightly on the wall where they were working to get Sean's attention and said, "Yes, I think we can arrange something. When will it be convenient for you to meet?" Rachel replied, "As soon as possible. We are entering the slow season, and I was hoping the renovations could be done during this time. Do you know where the cafe is?" Aaron smiled. "Oh yes, my husband and I have been there many times in the past, although not recently. How about we arrange a meeting tomorrow?" "Yes, that will work. How about you come over for dinner tomorrow night? I will treat you. I am very interested to hear your thoughts on what the new renovation might look like." Aaron slowed her response and said, "Please wait a minute. I need to consult with my husband. He is the other half of our group." She put down the phone and told Sean, "This cafe is our cafe. The owner wants to do a complete renovation and has invited us to dinner tomorrow night to discuss it. Can we handle this?" Sean looked at Aaron and said, "Of course. I am not afraid to go there. I think we got through our last visit pretty well. This could be a profitable project. Can you handle this?" "If you are with me, I can handle anything. Let us do this," Aaron replied. She returned to the phone and made an appointment for 7 p.m. the next day. After hanging up, she told Sean that everything was arranged. Aaron thought for a moment and said, "You know, we somehow left there with an unpleasant aftertaste. I know we moved on with our lives, but I wonder how we would feel if we went back to the cafe and saw my old office right across the street." He tried to reassure her. "Remember, if this is difficult, tell me and we will get through it together." The next evening, they entered the cafe together, holding hands. The hostess who had been working there on that fateful day 9 months ago was there again and recognized them. She smiled when she saw them holding hands. They told her they were meeting the owner, and she immediately showed them to a table in the back of the cafe, on the other side of the building from where their table used to be. Rachel Boone was already sitting there next to a man who looked to be her age. Rachel stood up to greet them. "Sean, Aaron, nice to meet you in person. You look familiar to me. Have you been here before?" Sean replied, "Yes, many times, although it has been months since we last came here." "Oh, I am sorry to hear that. Was it because of the food, or maybe because of the service?" Rachel asked. Aaron decided to answer her question, as it was her fault that they had stopped coming. "No, this has nothing to do with the cafe or the food. We always enjoyed coming here. Sometimes life just gets in the way and changes your plans." Rachel nodded. "I understand. I know how it goes. This is my husband, Dale. We own and operate Hometown Cafe together." After they shook Dale's hand, they sat down at the table. The waitress came to take their order. Once the order was placed, they began discussing what they wanted to achieve with the renovation. Sean watched with pride as Aaron virtually took over the meeting, asking questions about themes, color schemes, floor plans, and so on. She seemed completely confident as she answered and asked the Boones questions, taking notes at every step. They continued discussing the project for another 30 minutes after. Their food arrived. One of Sean's concerns was the time it would take to complete the renovation. Boone agreed to close the cafe for 2 weeks to prevent disruption to customers and staff. It was a big project, and 2 weeks was not a lot of time, so he knew they would need to budget for subcontractors to complete some of the work. They continued discussing the project for another half hour after dinner. When it was time to leave, Rachel said, "Sean and Aaron, talking to you tonight has made me even more convinced that I want you to take on this project. Aaron, you have some amazing ideas, and I look forward to seeing what you have to offer. Please send me an estimate as soon as possible. Let us become partners." They left the cafe holding hands just as they had when they entered. When they reached the car, Sean opened the door for Aaron, but not before he grabbed her and pulled her toward him, kissing her hard on her surprised lips. "What was that?" Aaron exclaimed. He replied, "For 2 reasons. First of all, we managed to return to the scene of the crime, so to speak. I would say we definitely got over it and put it all behind us. And secondly, you were amazing there. You took charge of the meeting, discussing renovation ideas, color schemes, and themes as if you had been doing this your whole life. Can you believe that once upon a time you just wanted to be with me at work? And now you are having design meetings with people who probably have a lot more money than we do. Do you think I was too persistent? I did not want to dominate the meeting. Relax, Aaron said. They were clearly impressed because they gave us a lot to do. They returned home and immediately worked for a couple of hours before heading to bed. Sean was so impressed with how Aaron approached the work that he suggested she stay home from the current project for a few more days so she could focus entirely on choosing the design she was going to present. When he returned home on the second day, she had already drawn 3 sketches of the cafe's interior, each with a different design and color scheme. He made a few suggestions, and then she moved on to the final designs. She was not an expert in art or architecture, but her drawings were professional enough that the basic idea of each design was clearly visible. When the designs were ready, they sat down together to create an estimate. There were slight cost differences among the designs, but those probably would not make a big difference in the Boone's choice. Sean contacted several potential subcontractors for electrical and flooring work. He believed that he and Aaron could handle the rest. It would be a long 2 weeks with 16-hour days, but they both believed in the project and kept moving forward. In the end, the Boones chose the most expensive design option, which was also Aaron's favorite. They set a timetable for the work and allocated a 2-week period during which the cafe would be closed to carry out the renovation as efficiently as possible, without interference from customers and staff. "It is time to start working," Sean said. Sean and Aaron put their heart and soul into the renovation. It turned out to be even more difficult than they expected, but this did not discourage them from achieving their final goal. The subcontractors arrived right on time, and Sean prepared the designs so they could start working immediately. The Boones ordered new tables and chairs, which arrived unassembled. Sean began assembling the tables while Aaron worked on the chairs. It was a real race to the finish. Sean and Aaron stayed up all night before the scheduled opening. In fact, the morning breakfast crew started their work while Sean and Aaron were still finishing up. When the doors opened at 6 o'clock a.m., they had just loaded up their tools and completed their final cleanup. The cafe opened on time with a completely new style and color scheme. Sean and Aaron did not wait for compliments. They were both exhausted. All they wanted was to take a shower and get some rest. Later that evening, they were invited to the official grand opening party. Until that moment, only sleep had been on their agenda. When they finally woke up in the afternoon, they decided to dress up a little since it was a party. Aaron had many clothes to choose from because she no longer wore business suits, but Sean had other plans. He picked out a dress for her that she had not worn in a couple of years. It fit her figure and emphasized her graceful curves very well. Besides, it was quite short, so her legs looked their best. He chose a long sweater and gray trousers for himself. When they entered at the cafe, they looked like a very modern couple. Once they were seated, introductions were made and a variety of delicious food was served. The Boones were sitting at their table in the midst of all the hustle and bustle. Sean looked at his phone to check the time and noticed something that surprised him. He looked at Aaron and said, "Do you know what day it is?" Aaron responded, "Yes, this is the day our company celebrates its biggest success to date." "Yes, but there is one more thing," Sean added. "Exactly 9 years ago, you walked into this cafe, sat down at my table, and changed my life forever." Aaron smiled at him, then frowned. "This means that exactly 1 year ago, I almost gave up on everything." Sean reached out to stroke her hair and said, "I choose not to remember that anniversary. In fact, I think this is the most appropriate way to celebrate this day. 9 years ago, we met, and today the cafe opened with a new design, thanks to us. I believe we will remember this day with warmth in our hearts for the rest of our lives." With that, they kissed and then joined the others at the party, holding hands throughout the night. A year ago, their marriage almost collapsed. Today, it had flourished and become even stronger. On the way home, Aaron looked at Sean and asked, "What made you decide to give me a second chance?" "I am not sure I could have done that if our situation had been reversed." Sean thought for a moment and then said, "You know the reason. What you did hurt me so much because I loved you so much. The more you love, the more pain you can feel. When I looked at my pain, I realized that it was caused by great love. For me, this love was worth fighting for. If I were at fault and you felt the same way, I think you would make the same decision. He reached out to take her hand and squeezed it as he drove. You know, I think we should thank Roger for what he did to us. Aaron looked at him in surprise. What do you mean? He almost destroyed us. Sean laughed. True, but look at us now. If Roger had not started following you, you would never have left your job, and then you would never have started working with me. I could never have gotten this order to renovate the cafe on my own. Thanks to Roger, our business is stronger than ever, and we are closer than ever. We are a great team, both in business and in life. All of this may be true, but I'm not going to look up his number to call and thank him, Aaron replied. Sean agreed. As they pulled into the garage, he said, But I need you to do something for me. What exactly, dear? Get your hair into a ponytail and find your cap. I think I found a handicraft girl I want to spend the night with. They ran into the house, laughing and squealing, until they reached the back bedroom and closed the door. The cafe was the place where it all began. The cafe was the place where almost everything collapsed. The cafe was where they started over, and the cafe was where they celebrated the success of their new beginning. The cafe was truly a mystical place. Subscribe to our channel so your love stays strong and does not falter. Go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you are under 18, please do not click. Click the next one.